take a quiet moment. What's the heaviest thing you carry right now? What subtly stops you from breathing fully or reaching for that wild possibility you dream about? Is it a whispered fear you barely hear but always seem to obey? A tiny seed of doubt planted long ago? A stubborn memory that follows you even into your brightest moments, clinging like a shadow you can't shake? Or perhaps, just perhaps, it's that familiar, aching whisper that's lived inside you for years. You're not quite enough. Whatever this weight is, it doesn't just slow your steps, it makes your world feel smaller, muting the vibrant colors of your own life. But here is the quiet, liberating truth pulsing beneath the surface. You were never meant to carry it at all. Today, let's gently, compassionately unpack what it truly means to let go, and how releasing those long-held burdens can finally crack open the door to a life that does not just look good on the outside, but finally, deeply, feels like yours. Letting go isn't about discarding old photos or simply walking away from someone. It's a profound act of releasing the invisible burdens you've carried within, the tangled fears that knot your stomach, the sharp regrets that catch in your throat, and the tired, outdated stories you keep replaying like a broken record. These aren't just abstract concepts. They are like heavy cloaks wrapped tight around your spirit, or ropes tethering you to a dock you sailed from years ago. But when you choose, consciously, to loosen that grip, even just a little bit, you suddenly discover space inside yourself. Breathable, vital space. Space where peace isn't a distant idea, but a gentle hum you can feel. Space where growth doesn't feel like a struggle, but a natural, unfolding possibility. Space for a life that doesn't feel like a costume you have to constantly adjust, but finally, gloriously, feels like a second skin. Imagine waking up tomorrow and feeling not the familiar drag of dread, but the sheer, wide-open feeling of possibility stretching before you. That's the quiet miracle letting go offers. But let's be truly honest with each other. This path of letting go often feels terrifying. It can feel exactly like standing at the very edge of a high cliff, the wind whipping around you, unsure if you'll fall or fly. There's a primal fear that tightens your chest, the fear of hurtling into vast change, the dizzying fear of the unknown path ahead, and perhaps the deepest fear of all, that letting go means somehow erasing the very story, the very pain, that feels like it made you who you are. And underlying it all is often a deep reservoir of pain. Pain that was swallowed down, never given a voice. Pain you've carried for so long it's become a twisted part of your posture, a constant ache beneath the surface. And then, the silent saboteurs, those quiet, toxic beliefs that have burrowed deep, whispering insidious lies like you're not worthy, you're not strong enough, you are fundamentally unlovable. These aren't just thoughts. They are emotional anchors, heavy and unyielding, digging into the seabed, keeping you stuck, tethered firmly to a version of yourself you have profoundly, wonderfully outgrown. So, when you look honestly, softly, what is it, truly, that stops your feet from moving forward? Perhaps it's the thick, tangled guilt from finally leaving a toxic connection that, impossibly, once felt like the only home you knew. Maybe it's the hot, burning shame of a mistake whispered about years ago, still echoing in quiet moments, making you flinch inwardly. Or perhaps it's the strange, comfortable weight of deliberately staying small, keeping your dreams tucked away, because the very thought of stretching, of reaching for more, feels terrifyingly exposed, too vulnerable to bear. Yes, these obstacles are profoundly real. They settle deep in your bones and feel heavy exactly because they are. But the deeper truth, your undeniable, unbreakable truth, is that while they are part of your story, they are not, and never have been, you. You possess the quiet, radical power to choose to set them down, not in one dramatic heave that clears everything away, but gently, deliberately, piece by piece. So, how do we even begin this monumental task? Letting go isn't about grand pronouncements or forceful acts of will. It is, fundamentally, a gentle, persistent practice of self-kindness. And it starts with the quiet courage of awareness. Commit to just 5 minutes each day to simply be with yourself. Find a quiet spot, take a deep, grounding breath, and just notice, without judgment, without trying to fix or change anything. Then ask yourself, quietly, like you read talking to your own heart, what weight am I carrying right now that truly no longer serves me? What old story is running that isn't mine anymore? You might find the answers bubble up in unexpected ways, sometimes whispering, sometimes roaring. It's a profound, sometimes startling realization. Not everything that has found its way to cling to you belongs in your future. Another path, often less traveled because it asks for raw honesty, is journaling. Find a quiet space and write without any filters. Let your pen be brave enough to say what feels too difficult, too messy, too unsafe for your voice to speak aloud. What are the endless looping thoughts, the tangled stories, the sharp fears that haunt the quiet corners of your mind? Get them out, pour them onto the page, because when you see them there, externalized, separate from the swirling chaos inside you, something shifts. You begin to recognize them for what they often are. Just stories you've been told, just thoughts passing through, not the absolute defining truths you believed them to be. Here's a deeply healing practice. Write a letter, maybe to the part of your past self who carried the weight alone, maybe to someone who caused you pain. Unburden yourself completely. Say everything you've held back, every tear unshed, every word unspoken. Then, here's the crucial, symbolic part. Perform a ritual of release. Burn the letter, watching the smoke carry the words, the weight, away. Tear it into 1,000 pieces, scattering the sorrow. The physical act itself is a powerful declaration, your own sacred permission slip to finally begin to move on. And please, please, do not try to navigate these deep, often turbulent waters alone. This journey is too heavy to carry in isolation. Reach out your hand to a trusted friend who listens with a quiet, open heart, to a therapist who can hold the space for your unraveling and reweaving with professional wisdom, to a support circle where you find fellow travelers on this path, understanding eyes meeting yours. Simply speaking your truth, giving voice to the silent burdens, can feel like shedding layers you didn't realize were suffocating you. A physical lightening in your chest, a fresh gulp of air. Remember this fiercely. Vulnerability is never weakness. It is the most breathtaking, undiluted form of human courage. And don't forget your incredible body. It carries so much of our emotional history, holding tension like stored memories in your muscles, in your gut, in your jaw. Find ways to move that energy through you. Walk until your breath feels free and your legs tired. Stretch like you're waking up for the first time. Dance wildly in your living room, allowing whatever wants to move through you to express itself. And yes, sometimes you might need to pound a pillow until the stored rage or sorrow is spent. Trust your body's wisdom. Just let it out. Let me share a story, the kind we rarely talk about openly, but that lives inside so many of us. We'll call her Sarah. For over 10 years, Sarah carried a searing, constant anger, born from a betrayal that fractured her trust in the world. It wasn't just a feeling, it was a heavy cloak that dictated every interaction, every choice. It showed up as defensiveness in relationships, as rigid control in her work, as a constant knot in her stomach. It built walls around her heart so thick, so high, they didn't just keep others out. They trapped her inside, alone with the echoing pain. Then, one ordinary day, the weight became too much to bear. She didn't break down in defeat, crumpled and hopeless on the floor. She broke open in a moment of raw, exhausted surrender to the truth of her pain. That surrender became her first step towards freedom. She found a meditation group, not to escape her pain, but to finally learn how to sit with its raw, uncomfortable presence, noticing it without being consumed. She journaled every night, watching as the relentless anger, drop by slow drop, finally found its way out of her body and onto the page. She found a therapist, not someone who tried to fix her broken pieces, but someone who gently, patiently guided her back to the whole, radiant self that had been buried. And slowly, painstakingly, a thaw began within her. Sarah started to heal. She tentatively reached out, learning to trust the quiet stirrings in her own heart again, then the hesitant hands of others. Laughter, real, unrestrained laughter that shook her shoulders, began to bubble up more often. She even found her way to forgiveness, not because the betrayal was suddenly acceptable or okay, but because the sheer, soul-crushing weight of holding on to the anger was simply heavier than she could bear a single day longer. Letting go didn't mean Sarah's past vanished into thin air. It meant she finally reclaimed her own hand and the vibrant, undeniable power to write the rest of her beautiful, messy story. This, my friend, is the heart of it all. Letting go isn't about wiping the slate clean or pretending the difficult parts didn't happen. It is about standing tall in your own truth and consciously choosing to no longer let those old stories, those old pains, dictate your present and steal your future. It is the quiet, courageous declaration made from your deepest knowing. I am ready. I am ready to begin again, from right here. And in that brave, tender choice, you don't just open a door to abstract possibilities. You step into the warm embrace of real connection, built on authenticity instead of fear. You discover a peace that doesn't just calm the surface, but settles deep within your bones. A quiet foundation you can always return to. You begin to live a life that isn't curated or expected or designed to please others, but one that finally, gloriously, feels utterly, unapologetically like you. So, this is where our shared exploration pauses. But crucially, it is precisely where your journey truly begins. Remember this above all. Letting go is never about losing something essential. It is about the sacred, miraculous process of uncovering and finding the truest, most resilient version of yourself, patiently waiting beneath everything you have bravely outgrown. You don't need a map of the entire path or all the answers right now. Just start small. Take one conscious breath that anchors you to the present moment. Write one messy line in a journal. Have one brave, vulnerable conversation. Because each tiny step you take, turning towards yourself with honesty and fierce self-kindness, is not just progress. It is a profound, quiet act of unwavering self-respect. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are becoming, constantly unfolding, constantly discovering. And that becoming is truly sacred. And now, the invitation reaches out to you. In the comments below, if you feel called to, share one quiet thing you are ready to loosen your grip on, even if it's just whispering it into this shared space. Is it a fear that has held you captive? A memory that casts too long a shadow? A belief that shrinks your world? Sharing it here, naming it, can be another small, brave act of release. We are not meant to carry these burdens in silence. Let's walk this path of becoming, together, reminding each other we're not alone. And if this conversation resonated deep within you, know that our next video is dedicated to cultivating that quiet, unshakable confidence that truly blossoms when you shed what weighs you down. Take a moment now, hit subscribe, and join our community. Because the journey of finding yourself is just beginning, and you are so profoundly not alone.